Good morning. It is so nice to see you all. Let me get up my little stool here. I'm Kelly Jones. I'm Cisco's Chief People Officer, and I'm here with Jacqueline Carter. Jacqueline is a researcher. She is an author. She is I kind of call you a leadership expert. Can I say that?
Thank you, that's sweet, yep.
Yes, I've been working with Jacqueline for years with Cisco on the leadership side, and there's some really interesting research that we're going to get into later that Jacqueline's done around really how to unlock human potential through the use of AI. And so I'm so happy to be here doing this with you today. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kelly. It's great to be here and really wonderful to be able to see so many people interested in a tech conference, but interested in focusing on human potential and how to be able to leverage AI to support our leadership.
Yeah, and that's actually a great segue. There's been a lot of breakout sessions on AI this week. I'm sure you've heard about a lot of things. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're actually going to talk about how to unlock human leadership potential with AI. And I was just chatting with someone in the audience. I think sometimes when we have the discussion about AI and humans, it goes to a dark place. It can immediately go to catastrophic, end of the world, end of humanity. And we kind of want to flip that narrative a little bit and talk about how to actually use AI to become a more human leader. And the reason that we're focusing on this today, if you think about leadership, over the last 10 years, I would say nothing has changed as much as leadership. The expectations we have of people leaders now, if you look at coming out of the pandemic, changing sentiment from employees that we see, multi-generations in the workforce, now the anxiety that people are feeling from very large, I'm going to call it geopolitical strife. There's a lot of turmoil happening right now in the world, and so people leadership is more important than ever. And I'll actually share something with you unrelated to AI, but I think it's really important, and because you're here, I'm guessing you care about this. Individuals who feel that their leaders actually care about them as a person are 3 times more engaged at work and exponentially higher performance ratings. And I share that with you, that's Cisco data. We look at sentiment data, performance data, everything, and we correlate it. So the time you spend as a leader with the employees on your team pays back exponentially. So leadership is important. I think we'll start there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say I think you're absolutely right, Kelly, and I'm sure many of you would agree. The other thing that we see from a research perspective, and again, you probably don't need data to back this up, but leadership has never been more challenging. And I think it is at this intersection, as Kelly said, in terms of all these geopolitical forces, but not only that, the expectations of employees. One of the things that we see is, and again, many of you probably can appreciate this, is that employees have higher expectations that leaders do more for them, when at the same time, we know that leaders are struggling to be able to meet the basic needs, and the pressure from above just continues to come down. So the key thing, and this was really what we focus on, so I'm Jacqueline with the Potential Project. We're a global research and leadership development organization, and our passion is really being able to support leaders and being able to unlock their potential at work. And it was really interesting when Gen AI came really to the forefront. Of course, AI has been around for a long time, but we're partnering with Harvard Business Review, and they reached out to us and they asked us if we would actually do research on the impact of AI on leadership. And we actually said, we're not AI experts, are you sure you want us to do this? And they said, no, but you're leadership experts. And they said, what we specifically are interested in is how AI is going to impact leadership. And that's really what we wanted to talk to you about today. And one of the key things that we found in our research is many of us are asking what AI can do for us, which is a great question and really important, but not enough people are asking what AI can do to us. And this is really the intersection that we want to get into today.
Sounds great. And so I think we have 2 kind of key takeaways that we'd love to leave you with. One is how AI can enhance your leadership abilities, and Jacqueline's going to share a model with us that actually I've been using. I find very useful to be able to kind of integrate into my daily life. I've actually been using it for work and personally, so nice. Hopefully others find it valuable. And then we're going to give you some concrete things you can do today and take with you out of this session that will actually help you enhance your leadership skills with AI. So I think maybe we turn it over to you. Maybe you can walk us through the model and we'll go from there.
Absolutely.
Oh, actually, one other thing. Cisco Live style, we're going to do a demo. So we're going to actually not tell you about it the whole time. We're actually going to do it. And so maybe you can walk us through the model a bit and then we can get into the demo.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so what I want to walk you through, and this is based on our research, we've interviewed over 350 senior suite executives. We've also done a ton of data collection looking at employees as well as their leaders, how they're embracing AI, and specifically really looking at how AI can enhance the way leaders lead. And based on that, we came up with this model, which we call the AI Augmented Leader model, and I want to walk you through it. Starting out with one of the key things, and our focus is specifically on the mind of the leader. So if we want to look at how AI is going to impact us as leaders, the first thing that we need to think about is, what is the operating model of the mind? And very simply, there's three things that we do from a neurological perspective. The first thing, we perceive. The next thing we do is we discern. And the next thing that we do is we respond. When we look at that from a leadership perspective, we boil those down into three key essential leadership qualities. Awareness, so being aware of what's going on inside as well as aware of what's going on around us. The next thing in terms of discerning capability of mind is that wisdom, that ability to discern, to be able to make good decisions, make good judgments. And then compassion, and we define compassion as the ability to do hard things, but do it in a human way. So compassion isn't about being soft, it's not about being nice, it's really about, as leaders, stepping into the challenges that you face every day, but being able to do it in a human way that helps people to be able to hear the messages you deliver and keeps people, builds trust as opposed to destroys it. And now essentially then we look at, okay, so what does that mean in the context of AI? And we really look at this as both and. It's not an either or. We really see AI can really help us to be able to enhance our leadership. From an awareness perspective, human beings are amazing at providing context. AI doesn't know where you are or who you are. It doesn't have the context in terms of your team, your organization, but it is amazing at being able to provide content. So the marriage of both is the power of the both and of AI and human. From a wisdom perspective, human beings are amazing at being curious, at being asking out-of-the-box questions, at being thinking of things that, again, AI and its limited data-based mechanism won't necessarily have. And again, AI is amazing at providing answers. On the compassion side, human beings, fundamentally, we can care. We have our heart, our connection, our ability to create purpose and meaning for our people. AI has amazing algorithms that help us to be able to support us in being able to do those hard things in a human way. And this is really, bringing this all together, is the AI Augmented Human Leader. And again, as Kelly said, but we don't want to just talk about it. We want to actually do a demo. And as with any demo, this may or may not work. So the tech team back there, I just want to say my hat's off to them because they have been amazing at being able to help us do this. But we are going to go live to ChatGPT, and what we're going to do is we're actually going to walk through a real scenario and just show kind of how this model works and to hopefully to be able to inspire you to be able to see how you can use it. Kelly, are you ready for this? Because, it might not work. Are you ready?
I'm a chief people officer. I'm ready for things that don't work all the time.
Okay, that is great. That is great. All right, so I'm just going into ChatGPT, and we're also testing the Wi-Fi here. But I'll just start out with saying, hi there, are you ready? We're going to do a demo. We're here at Cisco Live. Are you ready to help us to be able to enhance our leadership with your knowledge and skills?
Hi there. Absolutely. I'm ready to help. Let's enhance your leadership skills together.
Is the sound quality okay? Can you guys hear it? All right, good stuff. All right, so I'm here with Kelly. She's going to provide you with a scenario, and then what we're looking for is to be able to have some really key insights in terms of being able to support her with her leadership challenge. You ready to go?
Yes, I'm ready. Looking forward to hearing Kelly's scenario. Let's dive in.
All right, so the first step in the model is context. So Kelly, are you ready to provide some context?
Sure. I'll give them a scenario.
Yeah, you go.
Are we on?
You're on.
Hello.
Great.
So,
Hello.
hi. So I have an employee who is not meeting an expectation that I have, but this employee has been dealing with some personal issues and has had some personal leave and has only recently come back. And I'm not sure their frame of mind to hear this feedback, and I don't want them to think this feedback is because they've been out on leave. I want to make sure I'm clear. How would you recommend that I have this conversation?
It's important to approach this with empathy and clarity. Start by acknowledging their personal challenges and expressing support. Then, focus on the specific work expectations and provide constructive feedback. Make sure to separate their performance issues from their time off and emphasize that you're there to support their success.
So Kelly, what did you think?
thought it was okay. The empathy and compassion starting with, I would have given that same feedback if I was talking with someone about how to do it.
Yeah.
The bifurcating the on leave piece, I would love to hear a little more about that, because if I think about, I've actually coached leaders on this real life scenario. You know, it's one thing to just say, this has nothing to do with the fact that you've been out for 3 months.
Right.
It sounds like it's because you've been out for 3 months.
Right.
And so I would love to get a little more, I'd love to click into that a little more,
Yeah.
because I didn't find that as useful.
Yeah, all right, go ahead.
Still listening?
It's still listening, yeah.
So thank you for that feedback. Can you say more about how to separate the leave from the performance? I'm a little bit worried that this is not clear.
Certainly. You can clarify this by explicitly stating that your feedback is about work performance and not related to their time off. You might say something like, I want to discuss your performance based on our usual expectations, and this isn't connected to your recent leave. This way, you're directly addressing the concern and reinforcing that your focus is on their work moving forward.
Yeah.
I liked something about that, because
Yeah.
he said usual expectations. You know, I want to talk about this in the context of the usual expectations. And I think if I were doing this, I would do that, and I would maybe remind what those are.
Yeah. Well, maybe let's move into the wisdom piece of it. So I think that that's really the context, getting content. But what we want to do then is start to really drill in and see if we can actually ask maybe some tough questions, like what would be a bad way to do this? Or it could be like putting it, I know Cisco has some amazing leadership principles. Maybe there's a way to be able to integrate it into specifically how you have that conversation, tying it to Cisco's leadership principles. What do you think in terms of some good questions to be able to unpack this a little further?
Yeah, I love the how could this go badly.
Yeah.
I actually use AI for that a lot, where I give it an
Yeah.
idea and say, tell me why this won't work, and it's brilliant at that.
Yeah.
So
Wanna give it a
yeah,
try?
let's give it a shot.
Yeah.
We're still in the same conversation?
Yeah.
So give me an example of how this conversation could go badly, and how might I prepare myself for it?
If the conversation starts with a critical tone or focuses too much on what went wrong, the employee might feel defensive or misunderstood. To prepare, emphasize a supportive approach and ensure you acknowledge their efforts and challenges. This helps build trust and opens a constructive dialogue.
What do you think?
I like that, and I think the more trust you have already, the easier
Yeah.
that's going to be. And the wisdom piece of this is, you know, and I've used this before, you know your employees better than the machine does.
Yeah.
And so he agrees. So the
Yeah.
wisdom piece is a little bit about, if it gives you something that says, nope, this is not going to work with this person, I know them really well, that's where you come in and edit, I think.
Well, maybe it's good to actually move into the final step, which is really that heart-centered aspect, right? So, and I think you're already going there. It's like how to be able to make sure the person feels valued, make sure the person feels seen. Is there something specific that you might want to ask again to really tease this out a little bit more?
Yeah. Let's give it a shot.
Okay.
So
To
thank
make
you
sure
for that. Thank you for that. How might I do this in a way that ensures that the employee in the conversation with me comes away knowing that I do care about them as a human, and that this feedback is in the spirit of helping them improve, and it's intended to be positive?
Start by expressing appreciation for their efforts and contributions. Then, frame the feedback as a way to support their growth and success. Emphasize that you're there to help them and that you believe in their potential. This way, they know your feedback comes from a place of genuine care.
What do you think?
I mean, I think it's good.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you want to maybe give it a try with another scenario to see? Like, I think we've kind of unpacked that one.
Yeah. Let's do something really tough. I think sometimes the human side of leadership, because we deal with whole human beings, we don't deal with the work version of Kelly and the home version of Kelly. Kelly's a complete human. We sometimes get things that have nothing to do with work. So maybe I do a really tough one that has nothing to do with work.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I could use your advice about something.
Of course, feel free to share the scenario, and I'll do my best to help.
So I have an employee who has a partner who is suffering from terminal cancer, and I'm trying to support them in this scenario and ensure that both myself and the company are there for them in the way that they need us to be. I'm not exactly sure how comfortable They are sharing details of their scenario, but I want to make sure that we're as supportive as we can be. What should I do?
Start by expressing your concern and letting them know you're there to support them. You can offer flexible work arrangements or resources like counseling services. It's also helpful to check in periodically to see if there's anything they need without pushing for details. This approach shows you care while respecting their privacy.
So I like that. The thing I would add to that is, and I think this is going to be important for all of our companies, the resource piece. What are the resources? What I find is sometimes people aren't aware, what's there. So when you think about the evolution of these systems and the closed systems versus the open, wouldn't it be great to be able to say, well, tell me at Cisco, what do you have? How can I support my employee? What can I share with them?
Yeah.
What did you think?
Yeah. I think it's still a little bit generic, and I think that's one of the things, one of the rules that we have around AI is whatever AI we are using right now is already the worst AI that you will ever use. And I think we can really see that. Like for those of you, probably like maybe raise your hands, how many of you have been playing around with different AI tools? I'm sure I'm in the right audience to say that, right?
Audience.
And so I would say, like in my experience, and Kelly, you've been playing around with a long time too, is that it's still quite generic. It always says, start by showing empathy, start by showing that you care, which is a good thing. But what we found actually in our research is the more, like every time we do a demo, I'm actually surprised we can already see it's adding more detail, it's asking more provoking questions. And I think the real, opportunity here is to be able to, continue to press it to dig a little deeper. And ideally, and one of the things, and Kelly, is one of the things that we talked about, like we can also share, here are some of my biases. Like, this scenario that you're talking about, like, I don't know, maybe, and you could just do it for the demo purposes, but maybe you can say that I'm concerned about really becoming emotional myself. Yeah. Are there tips, are there strategies that you have? And to really be able to see if you can tease out a little bit more insights. What do you think?
Yeah, we should do that. Can I ask you a related question first, though?
Yeah.
I'm intrigued about this topic of empathy.
Yeah.
Because, when we think about the model, AI is not empathetic.
Yeah.
Can it be designed to be empathetic?
Yes.
Are we entering in an era where,
Yeah.
so for humans who, we want to have empathetic leaders at Cisco who can connect with their teams, but that's hard to train.
Yeah.
It's hard to train people to be empathetic.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can.
Yeah. I will say, first of all, you can train people to be empathetic. That is something that is really important. I will also say, and this is something really interesting, is that the AI systems, and many of you may have already experienced this, are getting better and better and better at imitating human emotions to the extent where people are actually saying, in certain scenarios, they find the AI more empathetic than most human beings. And these are, I think this is really interesting for all of us, right? And if you've ever had the experience, like with a chatbot, like it'll pause and it'll say, oh, I'm really sorry you're feeling that way. Whereas sometimes, a hurried employee or a hurried leader may not take that time to pause. And they have unlimited time. The AI doesn't have another meeting that they need to rush off to. So one of the things we're seeing, especially around empathy, is these systems are getting really, really, really good at being empathetic. The key thing based on our research, what we found, is that human beings at the end of the day do not want to be managed by AI. They want all of the positive feedback, like work efficiencies, all of those things. But when it comes to the messiness of the interaction and the dynamics of employees and their leaders in the workplace, employees actually prefer a messy but authentic human being than a perfect, empathetic, pretending, like it's not actually empathetic, but an empathetic tool. So I think that that's a really good thing, and that's one of the key things. We do not believe that leaders will be replaced by AI, but what we're seeing in terms of the advancement of these tools, and again, maybe this little demo is inspiring, or maybe you're going, that's not so helpful, but stay tuned because it's continuing to advance. What we believe is that leaders who do not use AI to enhance their leadership will get replaced. So the key thing is really use it, play with it, just like we're doing here. Yeah. So again, I don't know, do you want to give it one more try in terms of how it might ask that, or?
I will give it one more try, but I want to add one thing to what you just said. So the conversation we're having at Cisco about leadership in this is, you can't replace many of the leader elements, but what you can replace is some of the tactical management things you do as a leader.
Yeah.
So, part of our role in HR and in IT, I share this with Fletcher, our CIO, is to reduce the friction, and reduce the drudgery from daily work. So if you can figure out how to use it for some of the more operational management things, then it actually allows our leaders to lead with more of the human skills.
And this is exactly it. I mean, human beings have had amazing history of introducing tools that have great promises. I mean, how many of you remember, I'm trying to just look at the age of this group, how many of you remember that email was supposed to save us so much time? Yes, yeah. How is that working out for you? Not so good, right? So AI is another one of those tools that we could absolutely look at and say, oh, it's going to be great, it's going to save us time. The key thing though, and this is one of the reason why we love these kind of conversations, is because we need to make sure that we get on top of it. So Kelly, exactly to your point, we need to make sure, okay, yes, it can save us time, but what are we going to do with that time? Are we going to, get on another meeting, get on another email, get on whatever it is? Or are we actually going to use that time saved to be able to have real human conversations, real human connections? And I think this is really that critical moment that we're seeing, because AI, as you said, I mean, it could actually make us, and this is our research, what we're finding, it could make our world more mechanistic, more bureaucratic, more driven based on systems and data, as opposed to being able to create a more human world of work. If we want to actually use this tool as a force for good, we need to get on top of it. We need to make sure that we're in control and really injecting the human element of our amazing AI systems. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. We're at a bit of an inflection point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm sorry, thank you for answering that. And I've lost the thread on what we were asking.
I think, well, maybe what I'll do is, hopefully, did you get a sense of the demo? Can we put that aside? Yeah, you get the idea? Then maybe what I'll just share is a couple of other things that we're seeing from a research perspective. And specifically, so this idea, as I said, is really constantly this kind of toggling back and forth, just like we did in the demo, really using AI as kind of your pocket companion to be able to support you in your daily leadership. And the key thing that we want to just put on the table is that we recognize that human beings have amazing strengths and amazing limitations. AI has amazing strengths and also some limitations. And the key thing about being able to get the best of both is so we understand, human beings, we have our intuition, we have our care, we have our curiosity, but we can be emotional, we can be biased. AI has that data and analysis, that algorithm strengths. At the same time, it can be mechanical, and also it can be biased based on the data sets that it's trained on, or actually who it is that programmed it. So the idea of this is really to get the best of both. And one of the things, and Kelly, you and I have had conversations about this, one of the things that we've seen in our research is we are here promoting using AI to enhance your leadership. So that's the bottom line. At the same time, though, we are seeing some serious risks. And just to be able to throw out a couple of those, for example, what we're seeing already from a data perspective, people that heavy users of AI start to actually get cognitively lazy. Just to give you an example of that, how many of you have asked AI a question like, write a communication for me, and it comes back and it's in perfect English, it's actually so much better than I would have written it, and you just want to hit the easy button and just say send. But people will know that's not you. People will not feel that that's authentic, even though it's a perfectly crafted communication. But you need to make sure, and this is one of the things we're seeing, and that's just a simple example, how to make sure you take advantage of that time saving that it's created a draft for you, but you need to make sure you add that human element. And what we're seeing again is that the risks are that we could become cognitively lazy, we can actually be more disconnected because we're not having enough human interaction. We can actually use the tool to hide from being able to bring our emotional intelligence to the table. And you talked about empathy. Again, the tool is amazing at being able to imitate empathy, but leaders need that human connection to be able to connect with empathy and lead with compassion. So those are just a couple of other reflections. And maybe I'll just share, I don't know, actually Kelly, did you want to share any reflections? Because we've had lots of conversations about this.
Yeah, it's interesting. I have to say, in a company our size that has as many leaders as we have some really great leaders. And then we have others who maybe it's not naturally and intuitive to them. So I'm really happy to hear we can program it to be empathetic, because I often feel that when a leader is in a critical conversation and maybe it doesn't go well, it's never, it's never because they are misintended.
Yeah.
You know, it's usually that they don't have the capabilities to do it. Yeah. So to the extent that we can program empathy and help enhance it, and just give something to think about.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I actually love the how could this conversation go wrong question. Yeah. It'll give you some really great stuff when you ask that. But,
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing that you can do, and again, maybe some of you have tried that, you can actually ask it to role play the conversation. You be the employee, and I'd love to role play this conversation with you. Or you can switch things around. You say, I want to be the employee, you be the leader, and let's again role play the conversation. So all kinds of ways. Or you can actually say, you know, that example that you had, Kelly, I've been told I'm not very empathetic. What are 5 things that I could do to really help me enhance my ability to be able to genuinely show up and show people that I care? So just in terms of what we are seeing, in terms of where to from here, a real development journey, the key thing for us is in the age of AI, we need to play with the tools, as we've done, as we've talked about, but we need to double down on our human qualities so that we can make sure that we're able to leverage the potential and overcome some of the risks that I talked about. And for us, it's really 3 key steps. The first one is we really need to become masters of context, really being able to see things from multiple different perspectives, to be able to ask those questions, to be able to look at going from perception to perspective, to really make sure that we can see through to be able to use the tool well. We also need to double down on our wisdom. We need to master questions. We need to have that critical thinking, that judgment, because again, it's too easy to just say yes to AI and not make sure we're asking the critical questions. And finally, we need to double down on our empathy. We need to double down on our compassion. We need to double down on our heart. This will be the core thing that enables us to be able to support our people in these challenging times, is to be able to help create that sense of connection. And again, AI can help.
I think that's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the model is really useful. I hope you took a picture. If you didn't, I think that there's a deeper way to go on this topic. If you'd like to explore it more, Jacqueline actually has a book out about this. We have a conversation going on LinkedIn about this. I will tell you, those people that do the work that I do, it's a fascinating topic. When we think about the future of work, you know, you really can only look at this stuff in the horizon of about 12 months because the technology is moving so fast. You know, anyone that tells you this is where we'll be in 5 years, it's impossible to know that. So a couple things I would just like to leave you with. If you've not, I know everyone in this room is probably very familiar with this, but I don't know if you've used it in your leadership. So play around with some of the prompts. You know, get in there, share this with your teams. If you have a team of leaders, there are all types of things that you can do to actually enhance your leadership. The navigating tough conversations one is powerful. Now, I will say, if you're someone who has a difficult time navigating hard conversations, it will allow you to role play it enough so that you're so comfortable when you get in the room to do it, it creates a better experience for both you and the person that you have to give the message to, which is really what you're trying to do. But I would start with just play around with some of the prompts. Utilize the technology kind of in service of being a better leader. And the last thing I would leave you with is each company has some guiding principles around this. And you mentioned Cisco's guiding principles earlier. So we have certain things we expect of a leader. So training our internal model on our principles will then help if we go in and ask these questions. Give me feedback in the spirit of the Cisco leadership principles. So it will make it even more relevant. Whatever your company principles are around this, make sure you're using them or you're training the model to understand them, and they will help you in these coaching pieces.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And in terms of, I think, other practical tips, just to double down on what Kelly said, really, you know, play around with it. And at the same time, like, really start to notice the ways that, you know, it can actually help you get insights into yourself. Like, that's, I think, one of the key things is many people, and again, I know many people at the conference here, are looking at different ways that we can use the technology in terms of being able to enhance our decision making. But for specifically, and I think that's really what we're promoting, is what do you know about yourself as a leader? What are your challenges? What are your limitations? How can AI, really leveraging the algorithmic potential that it has, help you be able to gain and really uplift your leadership? Because I think at the end of the day, we really need all of you to be amazing leaders. You're already great leaders, and we believe that with AI, you can actually enhance your leadership and really level up to be able to support the challenges that we're all facing today.
Yeah, that is very well said. Thank you for spending time on this topic. The fact that you showed up for this session means you care about your leadership, so appreciate you investing in yourself. And thank you, Jacqueline, for the engaging conversation. And if you want to keep the conversation going, maybe go forward. This is the book I mentioned earlier, More Human. Jacqueline and her coworker Rasmus have put this together. And if you'd like to continue the conversation on LinkedIn, there's a big conversation going on around this. Feel free to join us on LinkedIn for that conversation.